Hello, students. Welcome. Today, we're going to break down the battle plan against one of the most clever viruses known to us, HIV. Let's get into how modern medicine wages war on this microscopic enemy.
So what makes HIV so incredibly difficult to beat? Well, imagine a hacker getting into your computer's core operating system and literally rewriting the fundamental code. That is exactly what HIV does to our cells. It uses an enzyme, called integrase, to splice its own genetic material right into our DNA. And once it's in there, it's in for good, making this a lifelong fight.
Since we can't just delete the virus's code from our DNA, our strategy is to stop it from making copies and spreading. For this, we have a whole arsenal of drugs. Our first line of defense targets the virus's own essential tools, the enzyme blockers.
First up, we have protease inhibitors. Now think of the virus building a new copy of itself on an assembly line. It produces this long, single protein chain with all the parts it needs. But to actually build a new working virus, it has to cut that chain into individual functional pieces. The enzyme that does the cutting, the scissors, is called protease. So what do protease inhibitors do? They basically jam those scissors so the virus can't assemble new working copies of itself. Simple.
Now, here's a really clever trick we use. This booster concept. Take ritonavir. It blocks a key liver enzyme that normally breaks down other HIV drugs. So we give a small dose of ritonavir not to fight the virus directly, but to keep other drugs, like lopinavir, active in the body for much longer and at higher, more effective levels. It's a fantastic way to maximize the power of our main drug.
Next in our arsenal are the integrase inhibitors, and these are a real game changer.
Remember that hacking step we talked about, where HIV writes itself into our DNA? Well, these drugs stop that from ever happening. They block the integrase enzyme, preventing the virus from inserting its genetic code into our cells. It's like putting up a firewall at the most critical point of attack.
We've got some powerful drugs in this class. Raltegravir was the pioneer, but look at dolutegravir. It's a real star today. It's highly effective, it's generally well tolerated, and you only need to take it once a day. That convenience makes a massive difference for someone who's managing a lifelong condition.
So far, we've talked about stopping the virus once it's already inside our cells. But what if we could stop it from ever getting in at all? That's exactly what our next class of drugs, the entry blockers, are designed to do. We have two main ways to block the door. Fusion inhibitors, like N-fuvaritide, they target the virus itself. They jam up the machinery the virus uses to merge with our cells. You can think of it like putting glue in the virus's key. The other approach targets our own cells. The CCR5 inhibitors, like Maravirac, block the specific receptor on our cells that the virus uses as a docking port. It's like putting a cover over the keyhole. Either way, the virus is locked out.
Now here's the catch. HIV is a master of disguise. It makes a lot of mistakes when it copies itself, which means it is constantly mutating. If we only use one drug against it, the virus can very quickly evolve a way to get around that defense. To win this fight, we can't just throw one punch. We need a coordinated attack.
This is a fundamental rule in HIV treatment. Please remember this. Using just one drug is like giving the virus a single, simple puzzle to solve. It will figure it out, the drug will become useless, and the treatment will fail. That's why using a single drug or monotherapy is never, ever an option.
This brings us to the cornerstone of modern HIV treatment, HAART. Highly active antiretroviral therapy. This isn't just a single drug, but a powerful cocktail of medications that attack the virus from multiple angles all at once. HAART is the strategy that transformed HIV from what was once a fatal diagnosis into a manageable chronic illness.
The principles of HAART are straightforward but incredibly effective. First, you hit the virus hard with at least 3 different drugs. Second, you hit it from different angles by using drugs from at least 2 different classes. The goal is to crush the amount of virus in the blood, the viral load, down to undetectable levels. Because if the virus can't replicate, it can't mutate, and it can't develop resistance.
Our understanding of how to best fight HIV is constantly evolving. As we've developed better drugs and gathered more evidence, our treatment strategies have changed. So let's have a look at the current guidelines.
This is a huge shift from how we used to approach treatment. Previously, doctors might wait for a person's immune system, their CD4 count, to show signs of damage before starting medication. Now, the evidence is overwhelming. The sooner we start treatment after diagnosis, the better.
It leads to far better health outcomes for the individual, and it also dramatically reduces the risk of them transmitting the virus to others.
Now, when we create a drug cocktail, we have to be very smart about it. Not all drugs play well together. As this slide shows, some combinations can actually work against each other, some can become more toxic when combined, and others are simply redundant because they do the exact same thing. Knowing which pairs to avoid is key to a successful regimen.
So far, we've focused on treating HIV once a person is infected. But what if we could use these powerful drugs to stop the infection from happening in the first place? That's our final topic, prevention.
Okay, there are two key strategies for preventing HIV with medication: PrEP and PEP. It's really important you know the difference. PrEP, or pre-exposure prophylaxis, is something you take before a potential exposure. It's a daily pill for HIV-negative people who are at high risk. On the other hand, PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, is for emergencies. It's a course of medication you take after a possible exposure to stop the virus from taking hold.
As you can see here, the drug regimens are different. PrEP is typically a 2-drug combination, taken daily for as long as a person is at risk. But because PEP is an emergency measure, it's more aggressive. It's the 3-drug therapy that you take for a full 4 weeks to give the body the best possible chance of fighting off the initial infection.
When it comes to PEP, time is absolutely critical. You have a 72-hour window after a potential exposure to start the medication. After that, it's generally considered too late for it to be effective. And the sooner you start within that window, ideally within hours, the better the chances of success.
We have made incredible progress in the fight against HIV. Our battle plan has turned what was a death sentence into a manageable condition. But the fight isn't over. The drugs we have can control the virus, but they can't eliminate it completely from the body. The next great frontier, the ultimate goal, remains the search for a cure. That's all for today. Study well.